It seems like on the hunts where you really don't expect anything to happen, when you let your guard down, that's when the crazy stuff happens. That's when it all goes nuts. I had to do a show, and I had a short period of time to do a hunt where I could make it back in time to do the show. So I've got a cell cam over by Dave's. It's been going crazy with one decent buck that I didn't know if it was a shooter, but I wanted to get my eyes on him a little better to see. He looked minimal, like 125-ish, maybe 130, maybe 120. Just wanted to get a better look at him. Maybe shoot him, maybe not. Might let him pass. But all the rest of the stuff on the camera was small, but there was so much activity on that camera. I knew something was going on. There wasn't that activity a week prior to that. Just something was going on where that camera was going nuts. So I decided to just do a little observation hunt. It's a good kill tree, but it's also an observation hunt. I'm across a field from the bedding. I can see all the way around the bedding. Anything coming in and out anywhere in there, I'll get a good look at. And it'd be a good opportunity to shoot a doe for the freezer, because I haven't been shooting does because I'm right in where the bucks are and don't want to taint my areas. So I thought, yeah, I'll go watch the area. If a doe comes by, gives me a good shot, there's no bucks around, I'll shoot it.
I'm at Dave's farm. I'm sitting in a spot that I sat earlier this year. It makes a good observation spot. I can see all the way up this way and all the way down that way. And the deer bed, about 100 yards over there. I got a cell cam right over there. And on that cell cam, I got a good buck, a couple small bucks, and a bunch of does. And just the last couple of days. So something going on over here. So I'm going to sit here and observe and see what's going on. See if I need to make a move. See if anything comes out. I got one of those rare east winds that's perfect for this spot. And I'd probably rather be sitting in the back someplace. But I think I just need to sit here and see what happens up here. It's a pretty tight area. It's a little bedding area and it's surrounded by grass and there's water that way. So they're either coming this way or they're going that way or up. But I've never really seen much of a movement up. They usually seem to come this way or into there. So, I don't know. We'll just sit back and see what moves. Got me another one.
So that's great. I got my doe. Heart shot her. Perfect shot. Everything great. Ran off, died quick. But I did notice when she came in, she was acting a little nervous. She's walking around. She's alert. She's looking. I don't know. Maybe there's coyotes around. I know she didn't sense me because she never looked in my direction. But she was alert, and other deer around were kind of like jittery. But I thought nothing of it. Until right after that doe ran into the brush, I took a look to my right. And through the leaves, I could see a good buck. I'm like, whew, that's a nice buck. Get the camera kind of over there, and I'm looking. Can't see the buck on the camera because of the leaf cover, but I'm looking. And through the trees, I thought, you know what? That's a shooter. That buck comes over here, I'm killing him. So I got my bow ready. I turned around. And the funny part is I'd never seen this buck. It's new. I'm looking. All of a sudden out of my peripheral I see something, and I look down, and there's an even bigger buck. No doubt a shooter, walking right underneath me coming in. Where did he come from? Caught me totally off guard.
Holy smokes. He saw me in the tree and I tried to take it right down his throat. But at 5 yards is hard to miss. That was a good buck. Holy crap. Holy crap. 2 big bucks came out over here. I mean, it ain't 5 minutes after I shot that doe. I've never even seen those deer before. Holy crap. And I thought I could hear that doe coughing, and I looked over here, and there's a buck standing out in the field. And then I looked down, I mean, it was a shooter for sure, standing out here. And I looked down, there's an even bigger one walking right up the trail underneath me. I shot it right here. I shot it right here. I didn't get the greatest penetration, not what I wanted. So I'm really worried about this, but...
So the shot I took, that deer was looking up in the tree at me like this, and I shot it right here. I wanted that arrow to bury right through the stuff in his neck and right into his vitals. And I thought the shot was perfect. It looked like a perfect hit. But when he turned to run, he kind of stumbled, but I could see a pretty good piece of shaft hanging out of his neck, meaning I got about that deep. But the vitals aren't that far in. So, how many of you would have took that shot? And before you beat me up too bad, I mean, I've seen a lot of people just smoke deer on those short shots like that. I think that shot was about 6 or 7 yards. I can't miss that shot. And I hit exactly where I was aiming. I've seen a lot of video of a lot of people smoke deer in that shot. And number two, you kind of talk yourself into it. And that might sound bad, but you're sitting there, you don't expect that. I had no idea a deer was going to be there. I didn't even envision taking a shot there. I envisioned anything I see in front of me and really thought I would just observe. So it caught me by total surprise, and it happened very fast. This deer comes in, and I'm going to let him walk past. I'm going to let him get over here broadside, and I'm going to shoot him. I came to full draw before he gets in. When he walks underneath, I'm way above him. He's never going to look up, except he looked up. For whatever reason, he caught me. You know, in hindsight, when I got down and I stood where he was standing, I was skylit. It just took a glance and he'd see me. Because I stepped away from the tree, because the tree's leaning like this, so when I stand, I'm sticking upright. You know, if you're hanging away from that tree, they'll spot you a lot. I generally try to get my body right up against the tree so I look like the tree. But anyway, he spotted me, and his head goes up, and your mind is racing, and that is a split second. And anybody who says, I should have did this or I should have did that, yeah, maybe right, maybe so. But the stuff that's going through your head and how fast that happens, it's really a split second decision, and you can't pull that trigger.
I can't find any blood from the buck. I found running tracks going up the hill. I'm really worried about that hit. I thought I'd go right down here and smoke it. I walked out here where the doe was. I'm going to try and retrieve the doe, get out of here, and come back with Scott and the dog. Scott Gagliano and the dog tomorrow. I found the doe's blood right here sprayed, and then I looked into here and I see my arrow. Knock. I thought that knock, I don't think I'd ever find it. The feathers are gone. Probably find the feathers while I'm field dressing, right? I literally think those bucks might have been in the field when I shot the doe. Crazy. Let's turn. There she is. Nice. Now I hope that buck's laying over there. So we got Max, the dog, to come out and track for us. We wanted to track right away because of the frontal hit. I went over it on the video and I put it in slow-mo, and when the deer drops, I hit it perfect right here, going down towards the vitals. But what's worrying me is I got about this much penetration, so I'm hoping it got in far enough to punch the heart or the top of the lungs or something, but it was in line with all the vitals. So I did hit right where I should have. And when I tracked it, I wasn't on the right trail. You know, trying to get the camera back on it and stuff, I saw things a little different than reality. When I went over the video, I had tracked the deer right along the tree line, and I didn't find blood, so I was really worried. But when I watched the video footage, the deer didn't run that way. It ran straight across kitty corner across the field, and I didn't look that way. So I'm still hopeful there's a good blood trail, and it ran into a little wood lot, and I'm hoping it's down there. Hoping Max just runs right to it, and a little nervous.
The anticipation.
Yeah, yeah.
So it didn't actually run up the hill like you had initially thought?
Did not. It went downhill.
Okay. Because initially you had
down in.
thought it went up the hill, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the buck I saw going into the woods, I thought it was the smaller buck.
Mm-hmm.
It was the buck that I shot. I had taken my head down for a second, and when I looked back up, I saw that buck running in there, and I was convinced the other buck had run this way. And in reality, I was looking at the same buck I shot. Okay. It's kind of funny how you see things different and you really believe it, but when you go over to video footage, the video don't lie.
Mm-hmm. It all happens pretty fast.
Yeah.
So, good thing you have it on film.
Yeah. Yeah, even with the hit, I feel a little better about the hit, but a little worse about the penetration.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird.
Well, You called the right guy to come in with Max here, so.
Max. So this is Scott. You might remember him from a different video.
Here.
So Scott was nice enough to run all the way over here and help us out. This is Max, my favorite dog. He helped us last year. So what do you think about the hit and everything?
Well, it's either dead or it's not, so hoping for the best.
Yeah, it's an interesting hit. It's right in line where it's supposed to go. It's just a matter of if it got deep enough.
Yep, exactly.
Scott, what made your decision behind tracking tonight rather than tracking tomorrow morning?
Because I don't think we gain anything. Like I said, I think it's dead or it's not. We Dan and I talked about it earlier, and he was worried about property lines, so that's why I was thinking about tomorrow, just in case we jumped it tonight. But then talking to some other trackers, they told me either it's dead or it isn't, so hey.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's the gut hits or the liver hits that I would really back off on
Shit.
myself, and I think Scott agrees with that.
Yeah,
From your
definitely.
experience, but-
Definitely.
All right.
Flesh hits and frontal hits, I think you go after them.
Yep. Yep.
Ready, Max?
I am liking the almost 200.
Good. So there's my tree stand, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So he's about to hit the point right there.
You said he entered this woods road?
I think it's down here. There was 2 bucks. I mean, it's possible I got confused, but I thought he went down into this one below to our left here. That's fine. I could be wrong. Like I said, I lost eye contact for a minute. Based on the video.
Looks like we might be swimming, eh?
Heading through the water. Heading through the lake. Stop here. We followed that deer, what do you think, 700 yards?
Yeah. That plus probably.
Yeah.
A lot of backtracks. We had 2 for sure backtracks on it. Actually, the dog was right one time, and I pulled him off, and it ended up we came back out in that same spot. But the deer went up a ridge, went out into a bean field, went through the bean field along the edge, backtracked, went into the woods, and came back out where I had pulled him off one time, but we had no confirmation at that time. So then right at the end here, we went about 300 yards, 200 yards, me and the dog, and got to a road and found blood on the road.
Yeah.
And
Crossed into private. I don't have permission on, so we had to back off. I'll try and get permission from that guy and go a little further. We did hear some coyotes howling over there. However, I think that deer's still running.
I do too.
That shot, I mean, he's either going to go down fast or he's not going down.
Right, right. Yeah, we could have put on another 800 yards and still never caught up to him. Yeah, no, that whole track there was no bed, not one.
Yeah, and that's what bothers me. I'd like to find that first bed because
Yeah.
that would confirm it.
Yeah, yeah. We had a couple hiccups with the dog, but we figured it out. He figured it out, and
Yeah, he learned a little about backtracking.
yep, I was still real happy with him. Actually, on one of the backtracks, he turned and went in,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, there's blood over here.
He found it before we did.
He found
yeah.
it before we did. I'm like, no, there's blood here, and then we continued, and well, the blood disappeared, and then that's when we're like, oh, maybe he was right. Sure enough, we went in there, there's blood in there.
Yeah.
Come here.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of Max the dog here, how does he do that?
You can call me at 414-651-0255, or you can go on Facebook and look up Max's Deer Recovery. Make the call first. Please don't use these dogs as your last resort. Use them as your first choice. Just seems like we're getting a lot of last resort calls with the dog, and what happens is it's like a crime scene, and that crime scene gets contaminated. It's really tough for these dogs to get through that. So if you think you made a bad shot, just make the call. And if I can't get to it, I can find somebody that will.
Good job, Max.
Good job, buddy.
Well, yesterday we hit the land border and had to stop tracking. So this morning I looked up who owns the land, made some phone calls, got a hold of the guy, and he gave me access to cross the borderline or cross the highway and go in and search this morning. So it's the last ditch effort. He's either on that property or he's not. It's a pretty small property, but it's got some really good bedding in it. So on my way over there now. Well, I searched that property quite a ways. I got on a pretty good blood trail, and I'd love to show it to you, except every time I show blood on YouTube, they demonetize my videos, and well, so I'm not showing blood on video. But I had gone through Dave's property, the neighbor's property, and then now onto neighbor's property that I had to get access and permission on. And on that property, when that deer entered, he was walking. I think he ran the whole time on the area that me and Scott Gagliano tracked, because he never bedded down. There was a couple spots where it looked like he walked, but I think he ran most of the way. But he had an arrow in front of his face with a lit knock on it. We never found the arrow. So on the next day on this track, when I went back onto the next neighbor's property, about 500-600 more yards, I found this, the arrow, broken off. And actually, that's about half the arrow. So it got fairly decent penetration, and the blood trail was pretty heavy up until the point where the arrow broke off. And at that point, the blood kind of stopped. I searched everything I thought was bedding areas. I jumped a bunch of deer. I looked at the beds. I found no blood in there. And the people who hunt that property called me up, and they took over the track. And 3 guys, they went through all the bedding areas. They followed the blood, and they didn't find anything. So it's hard. It's hard because I'm questioning myself about taking that shot. I think I should have held out. I think I should have waited. You know what goes through your mind really quick is, it's a good shot. It's a good shot. I could take that shot. I could make that shot. And this is happening in a second. And you're thinking this deer is going to bolt any second he's looking at me. But in hindsight, that doe was real skittish that I shot. She was like nervous, looking around. And what did I do? I waited, and I waited. And if she don't give me a shot, she don't give me a shot. But they always seemed to eventually, and she gave me the shot, and I smoked her with a heart shot. And I half wonder if I could have just not touched that trigger. Would he have stepped back like this and gave me a broadside? Would he have flicked his tail and kept walking because I wasn't moving? Would he turn to walk away? And would I have got that perfect broadside heart shot where it just slips through the ribs? But in my mind, I've seen so many people smoke a deer at that close range, right down into the vitals there. I thought I could do it. The downfall, I think, is that I've got a shoulder that gives me a lot of problems, and I got my bow turned down a little bit. That might have something to do with it. You know, getting down to that 50-55 pound range, I think a little heavier weight. I mean, all I needed to get was this much further probably, and I'd have punched a heart. Well, you can't take those shots back. You can't undo them. That's why you really got to think about the scenarios and concentrate on it beforehand, because when it happens in a moment of stress, it happens so fast a lot of times, you just make the wrong decision.